Have you ever questioned why coups in Africa are always celebrated? Instead of people protesting to save their leader's seat, they celebrate it. Do people have no trust in democracy?
However, very clearly, without hypocrisy, without pretense, eye to eye, we're all aware that this model of democracy that you so insidiously and skillfully impose on us after the La Boule summit in France, almost in a religious manner, is not working.
Africa has gone through 6 successful coups since 2020, with another one looming in Nigeria. There are threats of a coup, but the military dismisses false rumors. Looking back at history, one might find the rumors convincing enough. President Tinubu is now under security protocol, signaling how much even the government believes he is threatened. But what motivated the coup? What's happening in Nigeria that we are suddenly hearing news of a coup? Let's find out. Since 2020, West African nations have been facing a coup. But why has it been experiencing a surge in military coups in recent years? West Africa has been grappling with a surge in military coups in recent years, primarily due to the region's economic, political, and social challenges. The dangerous tipping point in Nigeria, the largest country in Africa, is now a focal point, with heightened tensions and suspicions of a potential coup. The economic crisis, marked by the worst inflation and soaring food costs in a generation, has fueled public discontent, pushing the population to the brink. Rising prices of staple foods and surging petrol costs have worsened the economic hardships people face, creating a volatile environment. This economic crisis has become a cause for political instability, as citizens express frustration with the failure of democratic processes to address deepening inequality and corrupt administrations. Nigeria's situation is not unique. Other West African nations like Gabon, Guinea, Benin, Chad, and Sudan have experienced military coups, reflecting a regional vulnerability to such heights. The military takeovers by some West African citizens highlight a deep-seated distrust of existing democratic processes, further contributing to the surge in military coups across the region. Additionally, external factors such as the conflict in Ukraine and President Tinubu's economic remodeling efforts have aggravated the existing challenges, adding complexity to an already precarious situation. The failure of multilateral entities like the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to effectively deter and address these coups has raised concerns about the region's future stability. The lagging response of ECOWAS and accusations of lifting sanctions on military rule in Mali, Benin, and Guinea have undermined its legitimacy in curbing the wave of military coups, leaving West Africa in a state of vulnerability. We will also talk about ECOWAS in detail in the context of this matter. So, stay tuned. Now let's talk about the concerns surrounding the coup in Nigeria. What are the specific concerns and suspicions surrounding a potential coup in Nigeria? Specific concerns and suspicions surrounding a potential coup in Nigeria have heightened tensions and drawn attention to the precarious situation in the country. These concerns revolve around the Nigerian Presidential Guard, responsible for protecting President Bola Tinubu. Reports indicate the Presidential Guard is on high alert, signaling a potential threat to the current leadership. Alleged emergency meetings with President Tinubu have further fueled speculation about the risk of a coup. The suspicions are not without merit, given the backdrop of West Africa's recent history of military coups. The region has witnessed 6 successful coups and 2 attempts since 2020, creating a troubling trend that demands attention. The economic crisis in Nigeria, marked by the worst inflation and soaring food costs in a generation, adds to the concerns. The public discontent from these economic hardships has created a volatile environment, making the country susceptible to political instability. However, the Nigerian army vehemently denies these coup claims, urging the public to dismiss them as false. Despite these denials, the heightened security measures and alleged emergency meetings contribute to the overall atmosphere of suspicion and uncertainty regarding the political future of Nigeria. Amidst growing concerns and suspicions of a potential coup in Nigeria, the focus has intensified on the Presidential Guards Brigade, responsible for the protection of President Bola Tinubu. Reports indicate the brigade is on high alert, suggesting a looming threat to the current leadership. Alleged emergency meetings involving President Tinubu, Commander Kolshu Adebisi Onasanya, and Chief of Staff Femi Gbajabiamila have further fueled speculation regarding the risk of a coup. But what causes the instability in Nigeria? Is the economic crisis a reason? How is the economic crisis in Nigeria contributing to the current political instability? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. The economic crisis in Nigeria is a significant contributor to the current political instability in the country. Nigeria, Africa's largest country, is facing a precarious tipping point exacerbated by the worst economic downturn in a generation. The crisis is marked by skyrocketing inflation and soaring food costs, leading to widespread public discontent. The prices of staple foods, such as rice, have more than doubled in the past year, forcing some in the north to consume discarded rice. Additionally, the cost of petrol has surged, compounding the population's economic hardships. The economic downturn has created a volatile environment that catalyzes political instability. Wages have failed to keep pace with the mounting cost of living, further deepening the frustration among the citizens. The heightened economic challenges act as a breeding ground for social unrest and political discontent, making the population more susceptible to potential political upheavals, including the threat of a coup. External factors, such as the conflict in Ukraine and President Tinubu's economic remodeling efforts, have further aggravated the economic crisis in Nigeria. The combination of these internal and external factors creates a difficult situation where economic hardships intertwine with political vulnerabilities, contributing to the overall instability in the country. The economic crisis is a key driver in the ongoing struggle for stability in West Africa, particularly in Nigeria. It highlights the urgent need for comprehensive measures to address the root causes of the crisis. As we talked about the Ukraine war being a reason for challenges in West Africa, what external factors exacerbate the economic challenges in West Africa? External factors, particularly the conflict in Ukraine, are worsening the economic challenges in West Africa, adding complexity to an already unstable situation. The economic crisis in the region, notably in Nigeria, has been intensified by the ripple effects of the Ukraine war. The conflict has led to disruptions in global markets, impacting commodity prices and trade patterns. One of the critical consequences of the Ukraine war is the surge in the cost of petrol, a vital commodity for many West African nations. The disruption in global energy markets has led to a significant increase in the price of oil, further burdening economies that heavily depend on petroleum products. This petrol price surge compounds the population's economic hardships, contributing to rising inflation and exacerbating the overall economic crisis. As an external factor, the Ukraine war interacts with the region's economic vulnerabilities, amplifying West African nations' challenges. The interconnectedness of the global economy means that conflicts in one part of the world can have far-reaching consequences, and West Africa is not immune to these external pressures. As a result, the economic struggles in the region are not solely driven by internal factors. Still, they are exacerbated by the geopolitical dynamics surrounding events like the Ukraine war, highlighting the challenges faced by West Africa in maintaining economic stability. We need past examples to understand how the locals will respond to this military takeover. Which other countries in West Africa have recently witnessed military coups, and how have the citizens responded to these takeovers? In addition to Nigeria, other countries in West Africa that have recently witnessed military coups include Gabon, Guinea, Benin, Chad, and Sudan. Each nation has experienced varying political instability, with military takeovers disrupting the existing democratic processes. Surprisingly, some West African citizens have responded to these military coups with a degree of celebration, reflecting a deep-seated distrust of the established democratic systems. The response indicates the perceived failures of democratic governance in addressing issues of deepening inequality and corrupt administrations. The fact that citizens in certain instances welcome military takeovers suggests a disillusionment with the existing political structures and a belief that a change in leadership, even through non-democratic means, may bring about positive transformation. The celebration of military coups highlights dynamics within West African societies, where segments of the population view such takeovers as a potential solution to the long-standing issues that have persisted under democratic rule. This response, however, is not uniform across the region, as opinions and reactions may vary among different communities and social groups. Nonetheless, the fact that citizens sometimes embrace military takeovers underscores the depth of dissatisfaction with democratic processes and the desire for transformative change in the face of ongoing economic, political, and social challenges. How has the failure of democratic processes in West Africa contributed to deepening inequality and corrupt administrations? The failure of democratic processes in West Africa has played a pivotal role in deepening inequality and fostering corrupt administrations in the region. The democratic structures, designed to promote fair governance, representation, and accountability, have faced significant shortcomings, contributing to a widening gap between the privileged few and the disenfranchised many. One major issue is the inadequacy of checks and balances within the democratic systems, allowing for the concentration of power in the hands of a few political elites. This concentration of power often leads to exploiting state resources for personal gain, fostering a culture of corruption. Corrupt practices, including embezzlement and bribery, become prevalent as those in power prioritize personal interests over the welfare of the broader population. Furthermore, the electoral processes in some West African nations have been marred by irregularities, fraud, and manipulation. These challenges erode the legitimacy of elected leaders and contribute to a lack of trust in the democratic institutions meant to represent the people. As a result, citizens become disillusioned with the democratic process, viewing it as a vehicle for perpetuating inequality rather than addressing societal issues. The failure of democratic processes also extends to the ineffective enforcement of the rule of law. Weak institutions and a lack of accountability mechanisms allow corruption to thrive with little consequence for those in power. This lack of accountability perpetuates a cycle of impunity, where corrupt practices go unchecked, further entrenching inequality and undermining the principles of democratic governance. The failure of democratic processes in West Africa, with the concentration of power, electoral irregularities, and weak accountability mechanisms, has created an environment conducive to corruption and deepening inequality. Addressing these systemic issues is crucial for fostering inclusive governance and sustainable development in the region. Now, let's come to the ECOWAS role. What role has the economic community of West African states ECOWAS played in addressing the wave of military coups? The economic community of West African states ECOWAS has played a central role in addressing the wave of military coups in West Africa, but its efforts have faced significant criticism. And why has it faced criticism? ECOWAS, as a multilateral entity, has the mandate to promote regional stability, peace, and democratic governance. However, its response to military coups within the region has been met with challenges and skepticism. One key criticism against ECOWAS is its perceived sluggishness in responding effectively to political crises. The organization has been criticized for delaying decisive action when military coups occur, allowing the situation to escalate before intervention. This lagging response undermines the timely restoration of democratic order and contributes to prolonged political instability in affected countries. Furthermore, ECOWAS has faced criticism for allegedly lifting sanctions on countries that have experienced military rule, including Mali, Benin, and Guinea. This has led to questions about the organization's consistency and commitment to upholding democratic principles. The lifting of sanctions without clear indicators of a return to democratic governance has been seen as a compromise by ECOWAS, raising concerns about its effectiveness in deterring future coup attempts. The criticism directed at ECOWAS also reflects broader concerns about the efficacy of regional bodies in addressing political challenges. The organization's shortcomings highlight the need for more robust mechanisms and swift responses to restore democratic processes and stability in the face of military coups. Now, can we say the democratic process in West Africa failed? And in what way? The democratic processes in West Africa have faced significant challenges, and their failures have had profound implications for the region's stability. One notable way in which democratic processes have faltered is the concentration of power in the hands of a few political elites. This has led to a lack of inclusivity and representation as decision-making becomes centralized, excluding the diverse voices and needs of the population. The resulting disenfranchisement contributes to social discontent and undermines the foundational principles of democracy. Another critical failure lies in the inadequacy of checks and balances within the democratic systems. Weak institutions and corruption have allowed political leaders to exploit their positions for personal gain, contributing to a culture of impunity. This lack of accountability erodes public trust in democratic institutions, fostering a sense of disillusionment among citizens who perceive the system as being manipulated for personal interests rather than the common good. Electoral irregularities and fraud further undermine the credibility of democratic processes. Rigged elections and manipulation of the electoral system erode the legitimacy of elected leaders, creating tensions and fostering political instability. The resultant lack of faith in the democratic process can drive segments of the population to seek alternative means of governance, as witnessed in the celebration of military takeovers in some instances. The failure of democratic processes to address deepening inequality is another significant concern. The concentration of wealth and resources in the hands of a privileged few exacerbates social and economic disparities, contributing to social unrest. This inequality can be exploited by opportunistic leaders or military factions seeking to capitalize on public dissatisfaction, further destabilizing the region. You must be wondering why some West African citizens celebrate military takeovers and what it reveals about their trust in democratic processes. Some West African citizens celebrate military takeovers as a response to their deep-seated distrust in democratic processes. This celebration reflects a complex dynamic where segments of the population view military interventions as a potential solution to long-standing issues and a departure from what they perceive as failed democratic governance.
Well aware of the fact that the real putschists, the most numerous, and those who avoid any condemnation, are also those who plot and scheme, who use trickery, who cheat to manipulate the text of the Constitution in order to stay in power eternally.
Celebrating military takeovers often stems from disillusionment with the existing political structures. Citizens may feel that democratic processes have failed to address issues such as deepening inequality, corruption, and ineffective governance. In this context, military takeovers are seen as a means to disrupt the status quo and bring about transformative change. The lack of trust in democratic processes is evident in the perception that elections may be marred by irregularities, fraud, or manipulation, eroding the legitimacy of elected leaders. Citizens may believe that the democratic institutions meant to represent their interests are compromised, leading them to seek alternative avenues for political change. Moreover, the celebration of military takeovers may be fueled by the perception that the military, in intervening, represents a form of swift and decisive action. In contrast to the perceived inertia of democratic institutions, some citizens view the military as capable of addressing immediate challenges and breaking the cycle of corruption and inequality. While celebrating military takeovers may not be universal across the entire population, it reveals significant discontent and frustration with the democratic processes. It highlights the urgency of addressing the root causes of this distrust, such as improving transparency, accountability, and inclusivity in democratic governance, to build a more resilient and trustworthy political system in West Africa. Can anyone do anything in this regard? What collaborative efforts does the international community take to address the root causes and prevent further destabilization in West Africa? The international community must collaborate to address the root causes of the ongoing destabilization in West Africa and prevent further escalation. A unified approach is needed to tackle the multifaceted challenges facing the region. Collaborative efforts could involve diplomatic initiatives, economic support, and strategic interventions. Diplomatically, the international community might work towards mediating conflicts, promoting dialogue between conflicting parties, and encouraging the restoration of democratic processes. This could include efforts to engage with government officials and opposition groups to find peaceful and inclusive solutions to political crises. Economically, the international community could provide financial assistance and support to alleviate West African nations' economic hardships. This could involve aid packages, investment programs, or debt relief initiatives to help stabilize economies, reduce poverty, and address the root causes of social discontent that contribute to political instability. Strategic interventions include deploying peacekeeping forces or international observers to monitor and detect potential military coups. Additionally, supporting and strengthening regional organizations like ECOWAS could be part of the collaborative efforts, enhancing their capacity to respond effectively to political crises. The emphasis on collaborative efforts suggests that a coordinated response is essential, acknowledging that West Africa's challenges transcend national borders. By pooling resources, expertise, and support, the international community can work towards creating a more stable and sustainable future for the region. This collaborative approach addresses the interconnected economic, political, and social challenges, thereby contributing to long-term stability in West Africa. Ending this video with one question: will it benefit the Nigerian people if a coup occurs? President Bola Tinubu's tenure as a leader in Nigeria has stirred both praise and critique. A crucial facet of his leadership involves fostering collaboration with stakeholders, emphasizing the importance of unity among Nigerian leaders and decision-makers to work collectively towards the nation's shared objectives. In Tinubu's view, leadership demands setting a compelling example, guiding the affairs of those led with a purposeful direction and serving as a model for others to emulate. However, challenges have emerged during his administration, particularly in the economic world. Nigeria grapples with a severe economic crisis marked by escalating inflation and the soaring cost of living, triggered by the removal of fuel subsidies and adoption of a floating naira under President Tinubu's governance. These economic struggles have fueled discontent, leading to nationwide protests. Tinubu has not been able to solve any matter, so it seems like people might celebrate the coup too. Do you think there will be a coup in Nigeria? If yes, how would the public react? Will they accept the coup? Let us know in the comments section what this coup indicates to you. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.